how to use hypnosis in an erotic way and leverage it for BDSM play is essentially the question. I remember old series, old TV shows back in, the 90s, early 2000s, whatever. And they showed people being hypnotized and they would hear a cue word randomly and they'd go into this zombie mode and they'd pick up a machine gun and they'd kill a whole bunch of people. Like, that's not really what we're talking about here. That's not realistic, okay? So if you have that association linking to hypnosis, that's not what this is. Because you all showed so much interest, I will be doing a multi-part series on this. I promise you, and all of your questions will be answered. But for tonight, basically what we're doing when we employ erotic hypnosis into a scene is we want to get the submissive into what's called a trance-like state in order to kind of bypass the conscious mind. They are still conscious, but if we can kind of tap into their subconscious mind, if we can kind of open that subconscious mind up through this trance-like state, which is a lot of releasing. It's a lot of hyper focus and a lot of releasing. And so our goal as a dominant is to create the trance-like state and guide our submissive through it. And then once we get them in the trance-like state, we deepen it. When we deepen the trance-like state, that's when we're actually employing the strategies that we want to stick, the associations that we want to stick, the behaviors that we want to stick. We're not about like changing someone, forcing them to act out of their programming. We're basically creating more openness to the subconscious so that we can plant concepts, plant ideas, and reinforce them in a positive way. Really, at the end of the day, it's about heightened arousal, deeper connections, and really enhanced responses to stimuli or cues. Some of the things that you might want to like really concrete in there, really reinforce is like, when I say this word, when I call you by this name, you will have an overwhelming urge to drop to your knees before me. And when we can keep the submissive in a super open, relaxed state where they feel so safe, and we're kind of guiding them through these mantras, these meditations, accessing more of the subconscious, then we can really create a positive association with these deeper concepts that will subconsciously incentivize these behaviors in the future. It sounds like it might be tricky to keep them in that safe and trusting mindset. I have found that the pushback happens before that. Once you can get them into like that open state, the pushback isn't going to happen there. Again, trauma-informed perspective, why it's so valuable. In therapy, we refer to these as managers or firefighters, where basically you want to, like, you feel an emotion, you feel pain or sadness or whatever, but instead of being able to access that emotion, you feel anger or rage instead. You feel disassociated, whatnot. Those are managers, those are firefighters. Those come up when the conscious mind is feeling like there's a threat. So our work when we're going down this path with the submissive is to get the conscious mind to not give you the firefighters and the managers. That's what you're going to run into predominantly. If you can work past the firefighters, if you can work past the managers and show there's nothing but safety here, you can turn off that conscious kind of hypervigilant safety monitoring kind of system. That's when it shifts. For me, I love it. I thrive in this space, but that's always been my wheelhouse anyway as a dominant, is the emotional, the psychological. Like, I'm going to fucking get into here. And anything else that happens here is only because I got here first. And so this is something that I really have not run into issues after that first point. It can be a really beautiful, deeply connecting, intimate experience. But again, you have to make sure that, I mean, if you're going to give someone access to open you up subconsciously and to really get down deep into your mind, if there's any hesitance, if there's any sort of fear, it's gonna come up. And so you've got to have so much trust built, so much safety, so much rapport. I do not recommend this, submissives, if you are just now starting with a brand new dominant and first session, they want to start hypnotizing you. Hmm, I'd probably say a little bit of red flag. But it's really fun when you feel safe, when there's rapport, when there's trust, all of that, absolutely.